The cold air bit sharply against her skin as she stumbled backward, nearly falling onto the cracked concrete floor. Her heart pounded fiercely in her chest, each beat echoing like a warning drum. She couldn't believe this was happening. Not here, not now. The bright, sterile lights of the elite laboratory flickered overhead, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts around her. Tara's breath caught as she tried to steady herself. She was trapped, alone in a place that was supposed to represent the height of human achievement, yet felt more like a cage. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and secrets she never wanted to be part of. But somehow, she was now deeply entangled in something much bigger than she ever imagined. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape. The doors were sealed tight, security cameras scanning every inch, and the distant hum of machinery was inconstant, relentless. She was surrounded by cold steel and glass, but it was the invisible weight of betrayal and humiliation pressing down on her that crushed her the most. Just moments ago, Tara had walked into this place filled with hope and determination. She had come here to prove herself, to leave behind the shame that had haunted her for years. But now she was here because of a mistake that others saw as her failure, but that hid something far more complex and dangerous. A sudden noise snapped her out of her thoughts. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoed down the corridor outside. Someone was coming. Panic surged, but she forced herself to calm down. This was no ordinary situation. If she could just hold on, if she could just keep her wits about her, maybe she could turn the tide. The door slid open with a hiss. A man stepped inside, his face obscured by the harsh shadows. His presence was commanding, yet there was a strange sadness in his eyes, as if he too was trapped by circumstances beyond his control. "Tara," he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion. "You don't understand what you've stumbled into." She swallowed hard, refusing to let fear take over. "Then tell me," she whispered. "Tell me what's really going on." He hesitated, then took a step closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "This lab, it's not just about science, it's about power, secrets that some would kill to keep hidden, and you've become the key." Tara's mind raced. What key? What secrets? She wanted to ask more, but the weight of exhaustion and confusion made it hard to focus. Suddenly, the man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small vial. The liquid inside shimmered faintly under the harsh lights. "This," he said, "is what they don't want anyone to see. It's your scent, Tara. The unique marker that connects you to everything happening here." Her eyes widened. "Her scent? How could that be? You have no idea what you're carrying," he continued. "But it's powerful, dangerous, and everyone in this lab wants to control it." The words hit her like a thunderclap. All her life, Tara had felt invisible, overlooked, humiliated by her past mistakes. But now, she realized that the very thing she thought was her weakness might be her greatest strength. As the man spoke, a series of images flashed through Tara's mind, fragments of memories she barely understood. Strange experiments, whispered. Conversations, faces she didn't recognize but felt inexplicably connected to. Then, without warning, alarms blared. Red lights bathed the room in an urgent glow. The man grabbed Tara's arm. "We have to move, now!" Before she could ask where, the door behind them slammed shut. Security forces were closing in. Tara's journey had just begun, and the stakes were higher than she ever imagined. This is the hook, a dramatic moment that pulls the reader in immediately. Tara wasn't an ordinary woman. In her late 30s, she carried the scars of a life marked by failures, misunderstandings, and harsh judgments. Once a brilliant scientist herself, she had been dismissed from her job years ago after an incident that left her reputation in tatters. Since then, she drifted between odd jobs, her confidence shattered but her curiosity and will to survive intact. She never expected to be dragged back into a world she thought she'd escaped forever, the laboratory where she now found herself. was known as one of the most advanced research centers in the world. It was a place where cutting-edge science pushed boundaries in genetics, neuroscience, and biotechnology. But beneath the glossy surface of innovation, darker things lurked, things no one outside the inner circle was allowed to know. Tara had been hired as a consultant, quietly, anonymously, by someone who promised her a chance to redeem herself. They said the project was about identifying new ways to combat diseases through unique biological markers. But the truth was far more complicated and far more dangerous. As Tara and the mysterious man, whose name she learned was Dr. Reynolds, moved quickly through hidden corridors, she struggled to grasp the full picture. "This scent," Dr. Reynolds explained, "is unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's not just a chemical signature, it carries memories, emotions, almost like a biological diary. And it's unique to you because of what happened to you in the past." Tara's mind flashed back to a trauma she had buried deep inside. Years ago, she had been part of a secret experiment that went horribly wrong. The humiliation she suffered was not just professional, it was deeply personal, etched into her very being. That experiment had left a mark on her, something no one else could detect until now. The elite lab's interest wasn't about medicine or science alone. It was about control. Control over human experience, memory, and identity itself. As they turned a corner, Tara felt a surge of fear mixed with determination. She wasn't going to be a victim again. Not this time. But the deeper she went, the more she realized how tangled the web was. Allies were scarce, enemies were everywhere, and trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Each step uncovered new layers of deception. The people she thought were helping her had their own agendas. The technology in the lab was far beyond what she imagined. Machines that could read emotions, devices that could manipulate memories, and most unsettling of all, a system that could extract and weaponize the scent she carried. Tara's scent was no ordinary scent. It was a key to unlocking secrets buried deep in human consciousness. The very essence of her being had become a map, one that powerful people wanted to decode and use for their own gain. And the humiliation she once thought was her downfall was now the catalyst for a fight that would challenge everything she believed. With every heartbeat, Tara moved closer to uncovering the truth, but also closer to danger. The corridors twisted like a maze, each door hiding a secret. Strange symbols marked some rooms, while others hummed with the sound of machinery she couldn't understand. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a message flashing on the screen. "Trust no one. Your scent is the prize. Escape if you can." She looked up to see Dr. Reynolds watching her intently. "This isn't just about survival anymore," he said. "It's about rewriting what it means to be human." Tara swallowed hard, realizing the magnitude of what lay ahead. Her life, her past, her very identity was entwined with a mystery that could shake the foundations of science and power. But first, she had to survive the night. The alarms were still ringing, footsteps closing in. The game had changed. The hunt was on. Cliffhanger, who was really after Tara? What secrets did her scent hold? And could she escape the elite lab before it was too late? The answers lay ahead, but for now, the cold walls of the lab held their breath, waiting for the next move. The sound of her pounding heart seemed louder than the alarms now. Tara's legs moved fast, but her mind raced even faster. The cold corridors twisted before her, a labyrinth of secrets and lies. Every step echoed with the weight of unseen eyes watching, waiting. She clutched the small vial tightly in her hand, the mysterious liquid containing her scent, and the tiny flicker of hope it represented. Dr. Reynolds was ahead, moving with urgency. But Tara sensed the storm, closing in. They were not safe, not yet. As they turned into a side passage, Tara forced herself to catch her breath. The sterile white walls gave way to a darker, narrower hallway, lined with thick cables and blinking consoles. The hum of machines was louder here, a mechanical heartbeat beneath the human drama unfolding. Dr. Reynolds stopped, glancing back at her. His face was etched with worry, but he tried to hide it. "We need to get to the secure wing," he said quietly. "It's where the true work happens, where they study the scent, your scent, but it's also the most dangerous place." Tara's eyes narrowed. "Why me? Why is my scent so important?" He sighed deeply. "Because you're not just anyone. The scent you carry is tied to something extraordinary, something no one else has. It's connected to a series of experiments, years in the making, that could change everything we know about human memory and identity." She wanted to ask more, but a sudden loud crash echoed behind them. Footsteps pounded closer, heavy, angry, determined. "Move!" Dr. Reynolds urged, pulling her forward. They dashed down the hallway, the sounds of pursuit growing louder. Panic surged, but Tara focused on the vial in her hand, fragile and precious. Whatever secrets it held, it was the key to survival. Suddenly, a metal grate dropped from the ceiling, blocking their path. Tara skidded to a halt, heart hammering. "We're trapped," she whispered. "Doctor." Reynolds cursed under his breath, scanning the walls for another way. "There's a maintenance tunnel here," he said, pointing to a small door hidden behind a panel. He pried it open, and they slipped inside just as the security forces rounded the corner. Inside the narrow tunnel, the air was thick and stale. Tara coughed, the faint smell of rust and oil mixing with the lingering antiseptic from the lab. The dim light flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "This way," Dr. Reynolds whispered, leading her deeper into the bowels of the building. As they moved, Tara's mind raced back to the first time she had smelled the scent, not just the chemical signature, but the strange, emotional pull it had. It was as if the scent carried memories, like echoes trapped in invisible waves. She remembered how it had haunted her dreams, pulling her back to moments she wished she'd forgotten. "Why did they choose me?" she asked quietly. "What makes me different?" Dr. Reynolds paused, looking at her with a mixture of respect and sorrow. "Because you survived what no one else did. The experiment years ago. It changed you in ways even you don't fully understand." Tara's hands trembled. The past she'd tried so hard to bury was now resurfacing, raw and painful. The tunnel ended in a heavy door. Dr. Reynolds entered. A code, and the door slid open to reveal a vast room filled with strange machines and glowing screens. Scientists in white coats worked silently, their faces focused but wary. "This is the secure wing," Dr. Reynolds said. "This is where they dissect your scent, layer by layer." Tara felt like an intruder in a world she barely recognized. The machines hummed with eerie energy, their purpose unknown but unmistakably sinister. One of the scientists approached, eyes sharp and calculating. "Dr. Reynolds," she said curtly, "you're risking everything bringing her here." "Doctor." Reynolds didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at Tara, then back at the scientist. "She's not just a subject. She's the only hope we have." The scientist's eyes narrowed. "Hope or threat?" Before Dr. Reynolds could answer, a sudden blackout plunged the room into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows. "Power failure," someone shouted. "Security breach detected." Panic rippled through the room. Tara's heart pounded louder than ever. Suddenly the vial in her hand grew warm. She looked down, startled. The liquid inside shimmered, glowing faintly in the dim light. "What's happening?" she whispered. Dr. Reynolds grabbed her arm. "It's reacting to your emotions. Your scent is alive, Tara. It's connected to you in ways we don't yet understand." The scientists scrambled to restore power, but the room was plunged into chaos. Alarms blared, doors locked down, and the sense of danger grew unbearable. Tara's mind raced. What was this scent? Why was it so powerful? And how was it connected to the secrets buried in this lab? As the chaos unfolded, Tara realized she was at the center of a storm much larger than herself, a storm that threatened to consume everything she thought she knew. Suddenly, the voice of a security officer crackled over the intercom. "All personnel, lockdown in effect. Containment protocols activated." Dr. Reynolds grabbed a nearby tablet, scanning the data. "They're trying to isolate the scent, to capture it." Tara looked around, fear and determination mixing inside her. She was no longer just a victim or a victimizer. She was a key player in a game of survival and discovery. The shadows behind the lab doors held more than just secrets. They held the power to change lives, to rewrite history. And Tara was about to face the consequences head-on. The night was a blur of confusion and fear. Tara and Dr. Reynolds moved through hidden passages, evading security teams that were becoming more aggressive by the minute. Every door they passed, every hallway they crossed, seemed to pull them deeper into the heart of the lab's mysteries. At one point, Tara stumbled into a room filled with strange devices she couldn't begin to understand. Screens displayed DNA, sequences, brain scans, and what looked like chemical formulas. In the center of the room was a pedestal holding an array of vials, not unlike the one she carried. One of the vials pulsed with a faint blue glow, and Tara felt an odd pull, a sense of connection she couldn't explain. Dr. Reynolds noticed her fascination. "That's the prototype," he said softly. "An attempt to replicate what your scent does naturally." Tara shook her head. "It's like trying to bottle a ghost." He nodded grimly. "And some ghosts are more dangerous than others." As they navigated the complex, Tara began to piece together the full story. Years ago, a secret project had been initiated, one that sought to map human memories and emotions through scent, a kind of biological fingerprint. The lab's elite team had experimented with volatile chemicals and gene editing, hoping to unlock the mysteries of the human mind. But something had gone terribly wrong. The subjects of the experiments, volunteers and unwilling alike, had begun to lose themselves. Memories became distorted, emotions twisted into nightmares. Some vanished altogether, swallowed by the shadowy world the lab had created. Tara's own past was deeply entwined with this project. She had been part of the early trials, a guinea pig for experiments that had scarred her both physically and emotionally. The humiliation she suffered was not just from failure, but from the lab's cold disregard for human life. Now, the scent she carried was a living record of those horrors, a key that could unlock the truth or unleash a devastating force. In the darkest hours before dawn, Tara and Dr. Reynolds reached a hidden chamber deep underground. It was filled with ancient-looking machinery, covered in dust but humming with quiet power. "This is where they keep the real secrets," Dr. Reynolds said, "the things they don't want anyone to find." Tara's hands trembled as she stepped. Inside, the walls were lined with glass cases holding strange artifacts, old notebooks, faded photographs, and vials of unknown substances. She picked up a faded photo showing a group of scientists smiling in front of the lab. Among them was a younger version of herself, eyes bright but haunted. Her phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. "They're closer than you think. Trust no one." Tara's breath caught. The lab's walls seemed to close in, secrets pressing down like a suffocating weight. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind her. She spun around, but the corridor was empty. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Cliffhanger. Who was watching her? What secrets lurked in the hidden chamber? And could Tara survive the relentless hunt before her scent revealed more than anyone bargained for? The story was far from over. The faint glow from the old machinery cast long, eerie shadows across the chamber as Tara stood frozen, her heart hammering in her chest. The air was thick with the weight of secrets, each breath tasting like cold metal and fear. She could feel eyes on her, unseen but unmistakably present. Her mind spun in a whirlwind of questions. Who had sent those messages? Who was watching her? And what was the real purpose behind the experiments that had torn her life apart? The hidden chamber was a vault of forgotten truths. Torn pages, faded photos, and vials that shimmered with unknown substances. It was a crypt of memories long buried, and Tara knew that if she wanted answers, this was where she would find them. Dr. Reynolds moved beside her quietly, eyes scanning the room with a mixture of reverence and dread. "This place holds everything," he whispered. "The truth about the scent, the experiments, and the people who made it all possible." Tara reached out, her fingers trembling as she touched a dusty notebook. The pages were brittle, filled with handwritten notes, diagrams, and a string of cryptic entries. One phrase stood out, scrawled in desperate handwriting: "The scent is not just memory, it is life." Her breath caught. Life? Could a scent really carry that much power? Suddenly the silence shattered with a sharp noise, the distant crackle of radios, the heavy footsteps growing nearer. Time was running out. Dr. Reynolds grabbed her arm. "We need to move, now!" They slipped out of the chamber, the corridors twisting like a maze of shadows and half-truths. Tara's mind reeled with new questions and fears. The deeper they went, the more she realized how little she truly understood. As they navigated the labyrinthine passages, Tara's thoughts drifted to the moments before the lab's lockdown. She remembered the humiliation that had driven her into this nightmare, the whispered accusations, the cold dismissal, the loneliness that had become her constant companion. But now that humiliation was changing. It was no longer a mark of shame, but a key to survival. The scent she carried, once a symbol of failure, was revealing a hidden strength. Her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another cryptic message: "Trust yourself. The scent is your shield." Tara's heart wrenched with a strange mixture of hope and fear. How could a scent be a shield? What secrets did it protect? Dr. Reynolds noticed her distraction. "The scent isn't just a chemical marker," he said quietly. "It's connected to the essence of who you are, the memories, emotions, and even your pain. It's almost alive, responding to you." Tara swallowed hard. "But why? Why me?" He looked at her with steady eyes. "Because you survived when others didn't. You carry the story, the truth that this lab wants to hide." The pursuit was relentless. Security forces were closing in, their voices echoing through the cold halls. Tara and Dr. Reynolds ducked into a narrow stairwell, the sound of footsteps growing louder below. They ascended quickly, emerging into a forgotten part of the building, a long abandoned wing covered in dust and silence. It was like stepping back in time, a place untouched by the chaos outside. Here, Tara felt a strange calm. The shadows seemed less threatening, the air less suffocating. It was as if this forgotten wing held a fragment of hope, a whisper of the past that could change the future. They found a room filled with old files and photographs, records of the early experiments, volunteers, and the scientists who had risked everything. Tara's eyes were drawn to a photo of a young woman, her face hauntingly familiar. It was her, but this photo was different. She was smiling, eyes bright with hope, a reminder of who she had once been before the experiment shattered her world. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed through the hall. "Tara, you don't know the full story." She spun around to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a woman, older, with kind eyes and a tired smile. She stepped forward, her voice trembling with emotion. "I was part of the project," the woman said. "I saw what they did, what they took from us. You're not alone." Tara felt tears sting her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't just a victim or a prisoner. She was part of a story bigger than herself. The woman's name was Dr. Emily Grant, a former scientist who had turned whistleblower. She had risked everything to expose the lab's darkest secrets. Together, they began to piece together the true purpose of the experiments. The scent was more than a marker. It was a key to unlocking human memories, to controlling emotions, to rewriting identity. The elite lab had been trying to harness this power to manipulate not just individuals, but entire populations. It was a weapon disguised as science. Tara's scent was unique because of the trauma she had endured. It had imprinted on her a kind of biological code that could unlock or destroy. As Dr. Grant spoke, Tara felt a fierce determination rise inside her. She was no longer running from her past. She was ready to face it, to fight for the truth, but the danger was far from over. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the sound of boots echoed down the hall. "They're coming," Dr. Grant warned. "We have to move." Tara's heart raced as they slipped through a hidden door into a narrow passage. The walls closed in around them, the weight of the lab's secrets pressing down like a physical force. Every step brought new revelations and new dangers. They emerged into a large chamber, dimly lit and filled with machines Tara had never seen before. Screens displayed faces, people connected to the experiments, their memories flickering like broken images. "This is the control room," Dr. Grant said. "From here, they monitor everything." Tara felt a chill as she looked at the screens, each one showing a face she recognized, a person trapped in the lab's web. Her own image appeared on one screen, her scent represented as a glowing waveform. Complex, unstable, alive. "This is your fight now," Dr. Grant said softly, "to expose them, to stop this madness." Tara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over her. But as they prepared to act, a sudden alarm blared and the room plunged into chaos. The final barrier had been breached. The lab's true masters were arriving. Tara's journey was far from over. Cliffhanger. Who were the lab's true masters? What price would Tara pay to unmask the truth? And how far was she willing to go to reclaim her identity? The mystery deepened, and the fight for survival became even more personal. The cold air inside the lab's control room was thick with tension. Tara's breath came in short gasps, but her mind was sharper than ever. The glowing waveform on the screen pulsed steadily, almost like a heartbeat, her scent alive, not just a trace, but a force. Behind the armored doors, the footsteps grew louder. The lab's true masters were closing in. Dr. Emily Grant stood beside her, voice calm but urgent. "We don't have much time. The network controls the entire facility. If they get access to your sense data, they can erase everything, including you." Tara's hand tightened around the vial. Her scent was the last piece of evidence. Proof of the lab's crimes and the key to dismantling their operation. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about justice. Suddenly, the room's lights dimmed, and a voice echoed from the loudspeakers. Cold, mechanical, filled with authority. "Dr. Tara Mitchell," it said, "you have violated security protocols. Surrender immediately." Tara's eyes locked on the cameras, feeling the weight of every gaze. The lab had been watching her from the beginning, trying to control her, to silence her, but she wouldn't go quietly. She glanced at Dr. Grant, who nodded. "We've uploaded the evidence to an external server. The world will know soon." Tara's heart swelled with hope. For the first time, she felt she wasn't alone, that her story might change the course of many lives. Outside, the storm raged. Thunder rolled as security forces broke through the lab's defenses. But inside, Tara and Dr. Grant moved swiftly, navigating the maze toward the main exit. Every corner held danger. Shadows shifted, and unseen threats lurked just beyond sight. Yet Tara's resolve was ironclad. They reached a heavily guarded door, the final barrier. "This is it," Dr. Grant whispered. Using her knowledge of the facility's systems, she bypassed the security protocols. The door hissed open, revealing a narrow corridor leading to freedom. But just as they stepped forward, armed guards appeared from hidden alcoves, guns raised. "Tara Mitchell, you're under arrest," a commanding voice declared. A tense standoff ensued. Tara's mind raced, searching for a way out. Then, a sudden surge of adrenaline pushed her forward. She darted past the guards, Dr. Grant close behind. Bullets rang out, shattering glass and echoing off the concrete walls. But Tara's scent reacted, glowing brighter, pulsing with energy. It seemed to shield her, a protective aura that confused the attackers. The guards hesitated, their aim faltering. Using the moment, Tara sprinted down the corridor. The vial held like a lifeline. Outside, the storm was relentless. Rain hammered the ground, lightning illuminating the dark sky. Tara and Dr. Grant burst through the emergency exit into the chaos. Security forces scrambled behind them, but the storm masked their movements. "We have to reach the safe house," Dr. Grant shouted over the wind. Tara nodded, her body exhausted, but fueled by determination. As they ran through the night, Tara's thoughts turned to the people trapped inside the lab, those whose memories were stolen, whose identities were fractured. Her scent was more than a weapon. It was a beacon for the lost. The safe house was a modest cabin hidden deep in the woods. Inside, they connected to a secure network, sending the last pieces of evidence to journalists and human rights organizations. Hours passed like minutes. The world outside was waking to a scandal that would shake governments and corporations alike. Tara sat quietly, the vial resting on the table, a symbol of pain, survival, and truth. Dr. Grant spoke softly. "You've done more than survive. You've given a voice to the voiceless." Tara smiled faintly, tears mixing with the rain still drying on her skin. "It's not just my story anymore. It belongs to everyone who suffered." Days later, the fallout was global. Investigations launched, arrests made, and the lab's hidden agendas exposed. But for Tara, the battle was just beginning. Her body still bore the scars, and her mind wrestled with shadows of the past. Yet through the pain, she found a new strength, a commitment to reclaim her life on her own terms. The scent, once a source of humiliation and fear, had become a symbol of resilience. In quiet moments, Tara reflected on the journey. The humiliation, the chase, the betrayals and the alliances. She realized the deepest lesson wasn't about science or secrets. It was about the power of human spirit. No matter how dark the past, how deep the wounds, hope could light a path forward. Final scene: Tara stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean, the wind carrying the salt air and the promise of a new dawn. She held the vial one last time, then let it slip from her fingers. It shattered against the rocks below, releasing a faint, lingering scent, a whisper of memories, a legacy of survival. As the sun rose, Tara smiled. She was free. The lesson: in a world obsessed with control and perfection, the true power lies in our imperfections, in the scars that shape us, the memories that bind us, and the resilience that defines us. Sometimes the greatest mysteries aren't hidden in labs or secrets, but within ourselves. And only by embracing our true selves can we uncover the strength to overcome any challenge. The end